So here we are on the last building of our tour, the 1991 extension to the National Gallery built by Robert Venturi as an extension to the 1838 classical building, the original National Gallery, to its right. It shows how after the remnants of classicism we saw in the cenotaph, then followed by the Second World War and 40 years of modernist buildings, there was a new height of controversy over the battle between classical and modernists when a plan was put forward for a 1984 extension to the National Gallery, which Prince Charles famously called a monstrous carbuncle on the face of a much-loved and elegant friend. That one wasn't built, and instead this halfway house was built, which has modernist glass and steel you can see on the side going up the passageway. But on its front it has the Corinthian pillars that are reflected on the original Corinthian pillars of the 1838 building. But they're treated in a much more modernist way. They cluster together in groups and then break away, and then they lose what is known as the entablature, all the details on the top of the columns, as they move towards the left. None of this would have been allowed by Palladio or Inigo Jones. So you're now in this halfway house between classicism and modernism, and that's where we are today. So we've gone from 1290, that first Gothic cross, the development of Gothic architecture all the way through to 1600, when you come up with the banqueting house and the first properly classical building in London. The development of classical architecture going through the more sophisticated planes backwards and forwards, up and down, of Palladianism that we saw at Horse Guards. Another, that's of 1760, another 80 years of classical buildings before the great Gothic revival of the Houses of Parliament, before a last flush of British classicism in Buckingham Palace, its remnants in the cenotaph, a battle between modernism and classicism, till we end up here, gingerly dipping our toe into the future and back into the past. Thanks so much for joining me on the tour.